Good evening, this is Kick-Off. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me this Monday night it is Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis, and we've been looking back on yet again another eventful Premier League weekend. And before we start talking about what happened in that game between Crystal Palace and Manchester United, it would be wrong of us not actually to just mention the sad news that emerged over the weekend in the passing of Billy Bonds. And Darren, the word legend gets bandied about a heck of a lot, doesn't it, these days? But he is certainly a West Ham legend, without a doubt.
Well, it's Mr. West Ham.
Yeah.
He is probably the most recognisable West Ham figure, bar Bobby Moore. And I think as far as he is concerned, he played, he managed, and he represented the club with distinction. And he's up there with more in terms of setting the barometer for what is expected in terms of achievement, in terms of the way that you embody the spirit and the values of the club. And the tributes to him were terrific, led by Jared Bowen. And I loved his sort of holding of the shirt and bringing it, laying it out in front of the fans on Sunday ahead of the game against Liverpool. Fantastic player, which goes without saying anyway. And you only have to hear some of the tributes that have been paid to him by some of the greats of the game to understand the esteem that he was held in. When I started as a young reporter back in the year 1999, and you'd see him about the training ground in Chadwell Heath, you know, and you could see the reverence he was held in by everyone he came into contact with, and even when he sort of put his head around the door as well. Fantastic player, fantastic man, massively missed.
Yeah. Passed away aged 79, but of course the club's record appearance maker, I think 799, led them to 2 FA Cups as well. And yeah, someone that embodied that West Ham spirit without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about what happened at Selhurst Park, shall we? As Manchester United beat Crystal Palace by 2-1 in a game that they came from behind to do so as well. First time they actually won at Crystal Palace since 2020 as well. Oliver Glasner, some really interesting thoughts from him, which we'll come to a little bit later on, about the need of, they should have recruited better really in the summer, and it feels maybe that it's now taking its toll with their European exploits as well on that squad depth. But Manchester United, Xerxes and Mount scoring their goals in this one. Interestingly, there was talk of Ruben Amorim pacing up and down the mix zone at half time. He clearly had to think about what he was going to say to his players as his side were trailing 1-0 at the break. And whatever he said to them certainly was enough to inspire them in that second half, especially Xerxes to score, Danny.
Well, I mean, he got lucky with a goal. It was a keeper mistake. He should never score from there, but it's good for him and his confidence. United have been many times this season hot and cold in a game. You know, good spells in a game, good half, bad half, and this inconsistency. But when you break it down, all you really think about is, after a horrible home defeat against 10 men, is bouncing back by any way means. And they did it at a tough place. So when you look at now, and we talk about statistics and numbers, 1 loss in 7, that's good form in Premier League football. That's good form. So they have turned a little corner. Have they turned a corner enough for them to be competitive and be in the top 4 shout? I don't think so, because they still look vulnerable. I didn't see the game, one of the games I didn't see, but I know that Palace had a lot of chances first half, and United were pretty poor, I heard.
Yeah.
But the reality is, United and their fans, I think some of them already do realise where they're at the minute. They're not at the top table anymore at the moment in terms of competing. So they've got to just be progressing and be in games and winning games and giving them something to at least appreciate and enjoy watching. And apart from the Everton game, in recent months, they've done much better. So that was a massive win for Amorim, because the narrative would have changed if they'd lost to 10 on the Monday, then gone to Palace and lost again. So this week's another big week for him. But overall, I think you can say that, you know, they're better than they were for sure last season. They do need Cunha and Šeško back in the team ASAP, because it gives them real presence high up the pitch, and just makes them so much harder to play against. I was at the game Monday night and they were lacklustre. They really were. But yeah, it's the same thing with Man United, isn't it? We're still kind of in that position where we think, can they kick on? When are they going to kick on? And I just think at the minute, be realistic with it. Not losing every week's a good thing. Progressing, being somewhere in that top 8, top 9 is progression from last season.
Yeah, and listen, listen, I can't hate on that. I mean, listen, you started off by saying that they were winners and you have to give them the credit for winning. You have to. I'm not going to lie. I'll be real. Yeah, resilience. And they held on to win the game. I didn't think they'd win the game. I think if Palace had not had a European game in midweek, I don't think United would have won the game. You could see them running on empty after half-time. And the reason why Glasner had a go at the board after the match was because he was frustrated not to win the game.
We can hear from Glasner, but you're right. After every European night, they haven't won a single game,
No.
Crystal Palace. But this is what Oliver Glasner had to say, highlighting that they should have recruited better when speaking to talkSPORT.
It's easy to find an excuse, and I think if it happens at the end, we could, yes, maybe, but straight after halftime, I don't know if it's being fatigue. Yes, it's the first time many of our players are facing this rhythm. And just have to say, because this group of players, these players giving everything every single day and working so hard to be fresh, I think we missed it in the summer to back this group. We should have added 1 or 2 more players to the squad. We knew it, we were talking about it, we just didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, he also elsewhere said about that we're still in a very good position, but the chance to play an even better season we threw away in the summer. I mean, you can't argue with that.
It's hard to argue with that. And there is a significance about those remarks as well, because they are trying to tie him to a new deal.
Yeah,
He's not signing.
He's not signing that. I mean, Danny will tell you all about why. But
Don't you think he'd have signed it by now?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
The only thing I'd say is I like him. He's articulate, humble most of the time. The way I hadn't heard the interview there, I've just read the narrative. It looks like he'd been whinging about not getting players in the summer. I understand that to a degree, but he actually said it in the right way. He even said we conceded early in the second half. Maybe that's not fatigue. Look, he's got every right, really, to say the squad has to play every game because they don't have strength in depth. That's fine. The flip side I'd say to that, and the point I'm getting to, is that he knew that. He could have walked. You know, not whining, but bringing it up now, it's kind of after the horse was bolted, isn't it? You know, it's it's only going to put pressure on the owners from the fans because they're hearing him say it and they know he's right. And actually,
he did flag it up in the summer as well. He did say it was an issue, like Marco Silva at Fulham. But I
never understand that. I never ever get it. And Marco Silva got a lot of respect for him as well. If it's that big a deal, don't manage him.
It's very hard to walk away, though, isn't it?
Well, not if you think you're going to be fighting with one hand behind your back. Now, Glasner might have thought, you know what, this squad's good enough for me to still do okay, and I've got a year left, so I'll do the right thing. Fair enough, I get it. But mostly it's money, isn't it? It's like you don't walk because you don't want to walk away and then not get paid.
But do you not think what Natalie just said there? He's got a year left. He's thinking, well, what's the point? I'm not going to sign anyway, but let's see what I can do this season.
So
I've got into Europe. Oh, okay.
It's not offending me. I don't care that much.
I mean, what I do think is that Palace aspire to so much, and the chairman and the manager, listen, they could have thrown him overboard last summer when he had one Premier League win in the first 5 months of the season, and they didn't. They stuck by him.
Yeah, true.
They stuck by him big time. So you have to give them huge credit for that, because he's delivered an FA Cup and a Community Shield off the back of that, and he's got them into Europe. So their faith in him has yielded the position that they find themselves in. But on the flip side, I think he's right to say, if you do aspire to the things you aspire to, if you do want to get into Europa Leagues, then you can't do it with the squad that we've got. And rather than it being interpreted as finger pointing, I think is quite instructive. Everybody, needs to do better.
Yeah, but the only thing I'm saying is we all know he wasn't backed.
Yes.
He needed a better squad. Okay? So, and God forbid, I mean, I know they got demoted and they should have been in the Europa League because that's even tougher, those games. So they would have been tested even more. So why say it is my point. It's.
Well, I think that he might be thinking to himself, the spotlight's on me because of what you just said, Nat. He's not won in the Premier League after any of the 4 Europa Conference League games that he's played so far this season. And he's actually failed to beat sides you'd expect him to beat in those matches.
But it's also impacting, and I know we've got to go to a break, but it's also impacting the players. And there's suggestions that Mateta is stalling on a contract now. Now, that obviously could be something completely different, but it also could be that someone like Mateta is looking at the project and thinking, well, this is not going to be an easy project.
For Palace, because Glasner could manage Spurs, he could manage Man United. He is a guy who plays that system Man United play far better than Amorim plays at the moment. I think I saw his Frankfurt sides. They were well organised. They were superb. They beat West Ham in the semi-final on the way to winning the Europa League and getting into the Champions League. This is a guy with a serious body of work. And I think as far as Palace are concerned, it would take an extraordinary January for him to turn things around and say, I'll stay.
Yeah. Okay. We will, I'm sure, bring you any more on that as and when it happens, if he decides to sign a new contract at Crystal Palace. And when that window opens, we'll be first with all the news as well. You're tuning in to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.